Ladies and gentlemen, your Florida Gators, for the third time, are national champions.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, obviously the podcast and on YouTube. As always, I am your host, Brandon Olsen, but we got a little bit something different about us this time, right? We got a little bit of a different situation for today's episode of Locked On Gators because the Florida Gators are national champions. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use with Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. And oh my God. I'm going to take a second here, right? We're going to take a second to acknowledge how incredible this was, right? This is a Florida Gators team that early on in the year was not nationally expected to be a college basketball national championship contender, right? Early on in the year, national media thought of Florida as, like a fun team to talk about, a team that could be a fun March team, but weren't thought of as national championship contenders. They opened the season ranked 21st in the country. But for the third time ever, for the third time in my life, and for the third time of so many of you watching, listening, however you're supporting, first off, thank you. This is incredible. We went live, just pulling the curtain back a little bit. We went live here immediately after the game, and then I took basically 2 hours, not to prepare, not to do anything, but to just soak it in. Because the Florida Gators are national champions again. Like the Florida Gators are back on top again. And I can't express, one, how awesome this feeling is. And two, I can't express how much I appreciate every single one of you that have come through and supported this show. And even if you haven't supported the show, have supported this Florida Gators program, because they deserve every last bit of it. They're incredible. This is just a remarkable team. 36-4. It can't be expressed how incredible this team is, how incredible that game was, how nerve-wracking that game was. The Florida Gators, at one point, were given a very slim chance to win this game, right? With about how much time is that? With 15 minutes left, right? 16 minutes left in the second half. The Florida Gators had a 10.2% chance of winning this game. 16 minutes left. 10.2% chance. They came back, and you could feel the momentum shift in this game. When Houston got into the bonus, Florida kept hammering into the paint. You could feel that, hey, 42-30 was not a big enough lead for Houston. You could feel it. You could feel just Florida getting back going. Walter Clayton Jr. shot 1 for 7 from 3. Elijah Martin shot 1 for 6 from 3. Every other Florida Gator missed all of their threes except Will Richards shooting 4 for 7 from 3. This is a team that had one of their worst shooting performances from 3 that they've had all season. This is a team that was forced to play a brand of basketball that was not their style of basketball. This is a team that when they went down 42-30, many people counted them out completely. And like we've seen so many times before, like we've seen consistently throughout this regular season and throughout this postseason, this is a Florida Gators team that will not quit, that will not die, that can come back from any deficit with any amount of time left. This is a Florida Gators team that so many people talked about having the toughest path to victory, that had to face just of all the 1 seeds, that had to face all the best teams possible in their matchups, in their seeding. And this is a Florida Gators team that overcame every single obstacle to etch their name in just immortality. This is a Florida Gators team that will go down with the greats. An unforgettable team. Walter Clayton Jr. said, "Hey, I just hope this team is remembered." I promise you, we will not forget this team. The Florida Gators won their 3rd national championship with Walter Clayton Jr. having one of his worst shooting performances that he's had this season. And I'm not saying one of his worst games because honestly, outside of his 3-point shooting, Walter Clayton Jr. played a very good game. Once again, defensively, he showed up. Okay? This was one of his best screw that. This was his best passing performance of the season. I know he had more assists in the Ole Miss and Alabama games at the end of the season. I know that he had the same number of assists in other games. Don't care. This was the best passing performance from Walter Clayton Jr. Okay? This was it. He had a block again. Which, by the way, he's had 3 blocks in the national championship. In the March Madness tournament, he had 3 blocks. He had what? 7 throughout the rest of the season combined? Something like that. This is like this was an elite performance by an elite player. This was the greatest Florida Gators basketball player of all time in Walter Clayton Jr. And look, you could disagree if you'd like. I encourage people that if you disagree with something, to say that. If you have an issue with someone saying something, then say that. But this is the greatest Florida Gators basketball player of all time in Walter Clayton Jr. This is one, I'm not going to say everybody, I'm not going to say this is my favorite Florida Gators basketball team of all time. Just because those older national championship teams and the 2014 team, special places in my heart. This team also a special place in my heart. I can't make a decision between any of them. I'm not saying that I feel one way or another. But this is a Florida Gators basketball team that did what so many people didn't think they could do. This is a Florida Gators basketball team that week in, week out fought their ass off, game in, game out, fought their ass off through horrible officiating throughout this entire tournament. And I'm not saying that that's a Florida-specific thing. I think if you were an official in this tournament, you should be embarrassed to show your face on a court because holy crap is the officiating bad all tournament on both sides. But this is a Florida Gators team that was forced to play Houston basketball. messy, fugly basketball. And they said, okay, we're going to do that. And we're going to win because we're the best team in the country. I told you guys after the first time they beat Auburn, because don't forget they did it twice. I told you guys after the first time they beat Auburn that I was confident this is the best basketball team in the country. Now, you can say any metric you want. You could say anything about Duke having Cooper Flagg. You could say anything about Auburn having Janai Broome. You could say anything about Houston having Kelvin Sampson, LJ Cryer. You could say anything you want about them. But what you can't say is that any of those teams won national championships. What you can say is that the Florida Gators won a national championship. That the Florida Gators are the best basketball team in the country. Because they are. We're going to talk about this game where the Florida Gators won the national championship when we get back with Locked On Gators. There is nothing like the energy of a live game. Whether it's catching last-minute MLB game, which is how I prefer to go to MLB games. Make sure the weather's nice, make sure it's a good pitching. I don't want to watch bums get wrecked, right? Like I want to watch good pitchers do battle with hitters, soaking in the excitement of NBA matchup, but finding great seats at a great price. That's a challenge if you don't use Game Time. Game Time makes scoring last-minute tickets even easier than ever, and prices actually drop as the events get closer. And with their all-in pricing, you see the total cost up front. No surprises at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Just code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews on the podcast and on YouTube. The Florida Gators won the national championship last night, if you didn't know, which you should, right? But the Florida Gators did it in an unorthodox way, right? The Florida Gators did it in a Houston-style game. And that's one of the things about this team, this Florida Gators team, where they can go through anything. They can scratch and claw and fight their way through anything. And they can play truly any style, right? Once you get to halftime, that's where Todd Golden makes his adjustment. And I am someone that has been very critical of Alex Condon lately, right? I think a lot of people have seen that. A lot of people think I don't like Alex Condon. I actually love him. I just think that he's been underperforming. And I've said this before. When I raised the expectation, when we started the SEC tournament, right? When I said, hey, this is no longer, figuring things out. This is no longer trying to find what your identity is. This is no longer trying to see what your ceiling is. When Florida started the SEC tournament, I said that was it. That I am going to be incredibly critical of this team because my expectations are to win a national championship. And so once the SEC tournament started, I said my expectations were to win every single game. And I am going to treat it as if you should win every single game handedly. I'm not saying by 30, but handedly. And a lot of people started talking about how I was being overcritical. I disagree still. One of the reasons that I've been harsh on Alex Condon is because I think he truly has the potential to be a fantastic NBA player. I do. I think he's got the potential to be a fantastic player. I think he's got the potential to be elite. I think he's got the skills, the traits. He's got to clean things up, but he's got insane potential. That's one of the reasons that I am critical of him. It's one of the reasons I'm critical of Walter Clayton Jr. Because Walter Clayton Jr. is not a bad defender. He just has stretches where he seems disengaged. I hold the players that I think can be great to that higher standard. I think that's fair. And with Florida, I've done that. Alex Condon is someone that I think played a horrendous first half. It seemed like he was doing nothing short of sabotaging the team, holding them back. In his first half, he had 3 turnovers on travels. He had a couple missed shots on makeable opportunities. And he was not doing a good job securing defensive rebounds in the first half. I don't know what Todd Golden and the coaching staff, Carlin Hartman, who, by the way, I don't know who watches. I know someone on the staff watches this in some extent. I don't know who it is. If it's Carlin Hartman, I love you. I will say that. But for the Florida Gators, I don't know who it was that brought this up or who it was that put their foot in Alex Condon's ass, but thank you, because Alex Condon in the second half of that national championship played a fantastic game. He had an offensive foul in the beginning of the second half. That was one more turnover. Outside of that, he played fantastic. He played decisive basketball in the first. I think one of the things that they told him in the locker room at halftime was, hey, pull your head out of your rear end. You've got the shot. Take the shot. It ended up being 5 for 9, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 4 steals, 12 points total. He did his job. I've been very critical of him. It's not to hate him. I do the same thing with people that I have elite expectations for. I hold you to a higher standard. And I know I'm not the coach, right? I'm not the coach. I'm not the GM. My job, the thing I get paid for, cover the Florida Gators, give my as objective an opinion as I possibly can. Give as unbiased an opinion as I possibly can. So that's what I do. And for me, if I think that you could be elite, I'm going to be more critical of it. Walter Clayton Jr. First half, horrible. And I say that because while he had, I think it was like 4 assists in the first half, while he had that, he should have had more, because when he was running the pick and roll, someone would set the screen, whether it's Colin, Cheney, Lou, Hanlockton, whoever it may be, would set the screen. Walter Clayton Jr. would dribble through it, and Houston would send both defenders at him, right? And that's a fine thing to do. Like that's a plan that you've seen for Walter Clayton Jr. before. But he wasn't hitting the pass to Condon. And they weren't easy pass or to whoever the roll man was. It wasn't an easy pass, right? But it was there. And it was better than dribbling around or taking a contested 3. Walter Clayton Jr. in the first half was heaving shots. And I mean heaving. Not in his usual heave. Way worse than his usual heave. Heaving them. And it wasn't working. And if you're part of the insider program, which the link's in the description below if you're not, I was sending a message that dribble penetration is there. We saw Denzel Aberdeen pretty consistently get into the 2-point range. I'm not going to say into the paint because he usually dribbles to mid-range and then dribbles out. But dribbling inside the arc, getting looks, kicking out if someone helps over, whatever maybe. But there was no reason Walter Clayton Jr. wouldn't have been able to do the same thing. Because if you weren't setting a pick, they were usually, hey, one-on-one guard your man. That's how Houston was usually taking it. And so I do think that the dribble drive was there. They didn't get it again, but I do think that the dribble drive was there. And in that first half as well, Will Richard, elite. He had an elite first half. Florida had 28 points in the first half. He had 14. And I feel like this isn't the first time. Like we had it with Elijah Martin against UConn, where you see someone go off in the first half. Elijah Martin versus UConn, Will Richard versus Houston, and then slow up in the second half. And people go, oh, like he had a bad second half. No, he didn't. He had a great first half. And his second half was other people finally stepped up. Elijah Martin versus UConn and Will Richard versus Houston. Both those games, both those performances carried Florida's offense in the first half to keep them within punching distance when the rest of the team wasn't shooting well, when the rest of the team was turning the ball over, when the rest of the team, I don't even want to say wasn't playing good enough defense, but wasn't playing elite defense that we know they can play. The rest of the team wasn't doing that. And they gave you a fighting chance. That's it. That's what they did. They gave you a fighting chance. And I will say as well, Ruben Chinyelu, I could feel the frustration with him. Needs to settle it down. His tech was a silly tech to get. But Ruben Chinyelu, I feel like, did a good job of handling the post as well. I think that Chinyelu is the guy that we're going to look at next year and say, hey, he's not stuffing the stat sheet, but he's playing great defense. Because that's what he's doing. That's what it's been. He hasn't been destroying people, but he contests shots, forces difficult shots down low, and can add a little bit of, oomph to the team. This game was similar to the Auburn one. I think pretty par for the course in some areas where I said, hey, Florida, you got to be better on the defensive glass. I don't think they were great against Auburn. I don't think they were, or in the first half against Auburn. I don't think they were great against Houston either. Houston had 15 offensive rebounds and an offensive rebound percentage of 32%. That's a great offensive rebound percentage for Houston to get. Are you kidding me? Against Florida? As outsized as you are, that's a great offensive rebound percentage to get. But Florida did their thing. We're going to talk more about how Florida came back and what they did to come back and how this game ended in just a second. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever in the podcast and on YouTube. To wrap up this episode of Locked On Gators, which again, not lost on me. I'm not a person to say this often, but I feel blessed to get to cover this team, to get to cover this program, to get to cover the team that I love so much. And has taken years of my life, but I feel tremendously grateful to just get this opportunity. It is not lost on me. Again, I don't mean to be repetitive with it. It's just the truth. This is incredible. Florida Gators win their third national championship. I will say that I think one of the areas where Florida really improved in the second half was they threw more bodies at defensive rebounding. They did. Walter Clayton Jr. had 11 points, shot 1 for 7 from 3, but part of what he did was get his 5 rebounds. Way more than he usually gets, right? Get his 5 rebounds defensively, which was his second highest total on the year? Yep, second highest total on the year. 5 defensive rebounds. A Florida Gators team that on the year shoots 72.8% from 3. That for much of the season shot below 70% from 3. Shot 81% from 3 in this game. Okay? We're talking about a team, and this is a thing that we touched on last night during the live show of this is a team in Florida that for much of the year has shot poorly. I don't know where shot came from. Has shot poorly from the free throw line. But when it matters most, they came up big to win the national championship, but also to just play phenomenal basketball when it mattered most. They had to go into the March Madness tournament, NCAA tournament. They had to go win 6 games. And it was never going to be easy. And it was never going to be pretty. And it was never going to be a thing that everybody thought. Like again, we talked about this when people were like talking about this game and going, oh yeah, Florida should blow Houston out. It was crazy to think that. But they shot 79% from the free throw line against Norfolk State. All right. They shot 79% from the free throw line from Norfolk State, if I'm not mistaken. Nope. Yep. I am. They shot 82% from the free throw line against Norfolk State. They shot 65% from the free throw line against UConn. And again, they won by 2. They shot 76% from the free throw line against Maryland. They shot 93% from the free throw line against Texas Tech. They shot 70% from the free throw line against Auburn. And then in a game where they won the national championship and won by 2, they shot 81%. They had almost every game shooting better from the free throw line than they'd shot for the rest of the season. This is a team that stepped up in areas where it mattered most consistently. And Denzel Aberdeen, I will say one thing to you, sir. I respect that you missed the first free throw just to make us all sweat a little bit. Just to make all of us go, I just smacked my microphone. Just to make all of us go, oh my God, is he going to miss the second one and then Florida's going to lose? Or to make us think, oh, great, Houston's going to hit a 3 to win. What I also thought was he hit the second free throw to go up 2. I had a lot of money on Florida minus 1.5. I was sweating. I'm not going to lie to you. Because I was like, oh yeah, like the difference between Florida money line and Florida minus 1.5, not that difference. And like, who wins by 1 was my thought. Could be silly, yeah. But Florida outscored Houston 23-15 in the final 10 minutes of the game. Like that was a big difference. The first 10 minutes, Houston outscored Florida by 6. The next 10 minutes, Florida outscored Houston by 3. Hence, going into the lead, going into the half down 31-28. The next 10 minutes, Houston outscores Florida by 3. Felt like more for a while because they had that they were up 12, 42-30. So it felt like more, but Florida was only outscored by 3 in those 10 minutes. And in the final 10 minutes, outscoring them by 8. Win by 2. This is a team that has consistently won those last 10 minutes by a large enough margin to win games. That's it. This is a team that has consistently had these moments where you just feel like they might be out. There was one moment. I don't even remember the specific play. I just remember there was one moment when Florida was down 42-30 that or around that. Maybe it was like 42-32, whatever it was. Around that moment, Florida had back-to-back possessions of I think it was either a turnover and a missed bad shot or something along those lines. And I remember seeing that and thinking they might be cooked. Like if they're making decisions like this and if they're doing things like this, they might be cooked. And that was the only time where I truly thought they were going to lose. Every other moment I was on edge, but I was never thinking, oh, they're going to lose. I have proof of the subtext group, the Insider Program, which links in the description below, of going, breathe. That's it. I was just saying breathe. I was just trying to keep people calm, keep people in check, let them know that, hey, this is it. Like, we've been here before. This is a team, they do this. It's fine. This is a team that they made adjustments where they needed to. They made big plays where they needed to. And they've done that all year long, right? I will also say that I think that, first off, the game turning into a ref show in the second half was ridiculous. But secondly, I think that Florida has done such a good job this tournament of playing more disciplined in on defense. Will Richards swiping at the ball multiple times, knocking it out. Elijah Martin doing the same. Like, this team has gotten scary good at swiping at the ball to knock it loose, swiping at the ball to just force a ball handler to react and try to adjust. This team has gotten so good in those areas. I think it's incredible. This is a moment that won't be repeated. Like Florida could go back to back again, right? And I think, to me, this one, I'm not going to say it's going to mean more. I don't know what next year is going to look like fully, but this is special, right? This isn't any other national championship. This isn't anything against the previous ones. Again, like all national championships and national championships, but this one, this team felt special. These players felt special. I mean, this win felt special. This is a team that had to run through the freaking gauntlet, right? This is a team that, in the year where the SEC was the best conference ever, the Florida Gators won the tournament, destroying every other team. They beat every SEC team they played except Kentucky, who they only played once, and it was their first SEC game of the season. But on KenPom, Auburn's number 4 in the country. Florida's number 3. Auburn's number 4 in the country. Florida beat them twice. Tennessee, number 5 in the country. Florida beat them twice. Lost to them once, beat them twice. Alabama's number 6 in the country. Florida beat them twice. Florida went through an absolute gauntlet and came out on top every step of the way. After Florida beat Auburn the first time, that was when I started my national championship. Best team in the country. That rang true. When I said that, I had a lot of other SEC fans talk about how crazy that was to say. Say, oh, no, they're not the best team in the country. They just beat Auburn. That's all that was. They just beat Auburn. Best team in the country. I don't care about who Duke had. I don't care about who Houston had. I don't care about who Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama. I don't care. I don't care who the Big 12 had. I don't care if any hosts on this network want to say that the referees stole anything. I don't care about any of that. You know why? Because my team won a national championship. Every other team, not just in Locked On, every other team in the country, all 363 other teams that could have made this tournament. Losers. Okay? I don't care about the opinion of losers because my team just won a national championship. Right? Lions don't concern themselves with the opinion of sheep. Right? I repeat, my team won a national championship. Any other team, any other opinion doesn't matter. We don't care what losers have to say because we are winning. That's that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators, whatever we're going to talk about. I don't know what sport. We will be back to talk more Florida Gators on Locked On Gators. Thank you all so much for tuning in this season, for joining me this season. Florida Gators, national champions, once again, back on top. We'll be back tomorrow, and I'll see you all next time.